Welcome back, guys, to another video, and in this one we're going to be going over my top 5 tips for scripting on Fiverr. So in this video we're going to be going over my top 5 recommendations that you can take to better yourself with Fiverr freelancing. And a lot of these principles or these tips can really be applied to any kind of freelance scripting. You can apply this to doing stuff over on Roblox's Talent Hub or other platforms. This isn't just for Fiverr, but this is just my experience. This is the platform that I mostly did most of my freelance scripting and stuff was through Fiverr. So let's get into it. Okay, so my first tip is set prices based on experience. So everybody has a different experience level. People go through beginners, intermediates, experts. You have to go through being a newbie at first. And if you are a newbie at coding and there's plenty of stuff that you genuinely can't do, you probably shouldn't be charging a lot of money for it. Like it's perfectly fine to just be, charging $30, $40, $50 a job if you can only really do the kind of stuff that you can make off a YouTube tutorial. So learn set prices based on your experience. Gauge where you are at and what you struggle with, and if you notice that you're able to complete a lot of the jobs that you get without needing to have some kind of tutorial on it already, then you've kind of gotten past that beginner section. And if you're to the point to where you can go and make your own game, don't be afraid to charge as much as a developer would make. We're talking $30, $40, $50 an hour. So don't be afraid to, charge way more than other people on Fiverr. I know most of the people I see on Fiverr that do scripting are people who have no idea what they're doing, so they charge $10, $30 for assets, and it's like, that's far below minimum wage. Our goal is to eventually be able to make more than working at the McDonald's down the street doing this on Fiverr. That's the point of doing freelance scripting, is to make a job out of it and make a living. So understand where you're at and charge accordingly. So my second tip also goes hand in hand with the earnings kind of section, and it's supply and demand. So supply and demand is an interesting concept, but it's something we learn in the world of business. And that's your prices should be however much people are willing to pay for it. So let's put up the scenario. Let's say you've applied my first tip, you've gauged your experience level, you know what your strengths and your weaknesses are, you know what you can and cannot do. Now you can set your prices according to how many people want your service. So it starts with the demand. How much of a demand is there for your coding in particular? If it's not much, say maybe you get a client once every week or so who messages you. You're not really getting very steady business. That means your demand is very low. So in turn, you're going to lower your prices. And, sometimes you got to bite the bullet and just do $30, $40 jobs and hardly make anything so you can build your business up. This is what I had to do when I started out, was very, very cheap jobs, very simple stuff to get those 5-star reviews and get to a level 1 seller. That's really where it's at. And people can start sorting you out, and the demand for your services will go up. And now likewise, when the demand for your service goes up, you have, a waiting list forming of the amount of people that want to hire your services. That's when it's about time to increase your prices. So gauge it based on how much of a demand you have. And you can even use this to your advantage. Let's say you're in the scenario where I'm at right now, where I'm doing partnership with other people making games, and I don't really want to be doing full-time on Fiverr right now. So I'll crank my prices super high, like more than I personally would be willing to pay somebody for. And in turn, you don't really get too many responses, but the ones that you do, you can land a really high value job that's not going to take too much work. So my third tip, sorting clients. This is an interesting one. If you do freelance scripting, I'm sure you're very aware of some of these clients already. Being that Roblox is a game for kids, a lot of the people wanting to make games are children. I've had plenty of clients where they displayed some red flags, and I've had to kind of sort them out, put them on let's maybe not entertain this person. And really, that's one of the biggest to getting good connections and turning a profit off of this is sorting clients, understanding what clients are probably not going to be good ones and which ones are really good clients that you want to keep happy. And we do this by picking up on red flags. Some of the biggest ones are if your client is under 18. You can tell that by talking with them, the prices that they give, their estimate. If you're working with even a teenager, you're still dealing with somebody who doesn't know the real world, and that's the biggest problem. If you're dealing with a kid or a teen, if they haven't worked a job especially, they're not really going to pay you anything, and they're going to want a crazy amount of work. And what's worse is if they are a kid, half the time they don't even know what they want. I've had plenty of clients that change their mind in the middle of a job. It's just they have no idea what they want. They don't understand really details in business, and they don't just it's not going to be a good working experience. You're going to be having to be a babysitter, helping this person, turning into their code consultant. So you want to make sure that you're working with adults, people with a budget, people who work a job because they can actually pay you at least minimum wage. So my fourth tip, negotiation. Negotiating is super important when you're trying to land good jobs. And the best thing is setting yourself up with a client to ensure that you've got a good job, one that isn't going to get you stuck in a bad spot, doing a lot of work for very little money that you're stuck into, and ensuring that it's a good client. If you are going to get into a bigger job, ensuring that it's a good client and you get a good price. So, what are some of the secret arts to negotiating? Well, let's say you found a client and they've got a job for you, preferably a bigger one. It's really where negotiating is important. They've got this list of stuff they want and they give a price. Let's say you look at the price and you're like, that's not a lot of money for a lot of work. I could see this being a month. That's only like $400. That's not a lot of money. So, the tip to negotiating, and one that I'll normally use, is kind of not care. And I know this is probably really hard to do. I imagine if you are like me and all you want to do is help this person, it's really hard to just brush them off. But be kind of nonchalant. Something I'll do is, for instance, if they've got a big project and they're offering prices really low, I'll usually say something like, well, I'm sorry, but your budget doesn't really fit my services. There are plenty of other scripters on Fiverr who can fit your budget. Now that line in particular is such a professional and casual way of saying that you can't afford me, and it really makes people feel like they're talking to a professional. And obviously, I know this sounds like manipulation, but let's be real, it's business. It's nothing personal. I would never be mean or wish harm against any of my clients. The point is, though, make sure that you're spending your time wisely. I accepted every job that went my way when I first started, and I got stuck in jobs where I was working for 2 months for $100, for 4 or 5 months for $100, and it was terrible. Make sure that you negotiate for good funds. You will thank me later. When you get your foot in the door, and you seem professional in the eyes of your client, they're going to take you seriously and realize that, hey, I need this guy. Just remember, they need your services. You don't need theirs. You don't have to accept the price they give. Give them a higher price. If they don't want it, so be it. There will be a client who will pay that much. Obviously, I'm not saying disregard supply and demand, but if you've got good demand, you don't need to settle for bargain bin prices. You don't have to be doing big jobs for hardly any money. Make sure that you're making more than minimum wage. Okay, so my final tip, learning advanced techniques. Now, in the previous tip, I mentioned negotiating with clients. Now, the issue is it's kind of hard to get to a position where you can really ask for a lot of money if you aren't really advanced. You don't have a lot of experience. So tip 5 is to help. Learning advanced techniques is going to get you into that position where you can ask for more money. You can make $700 off a maybe week job and get paid that much because you know how to do the hard stuff. So learning those difficult things that a lot of other people can't do puts you in a position where people really have to start turning to you because they don't really have a whole lot of other options. There's not, like Fiverr in particular, I guarantee 3/4 of the developers on there don't know how to do object-oriented programming. So like if you know these really advanced techniques, people they're going to have to turn to you because there's no one else. So you kind of get into a spot where like you own the market, so to speak. So what are these advanced techniques? Well, some ones, if you want to learn, check out what object-oriented programming is. Look into metatables. Look at stuff like making difficult assets. Look at making guns, doing data store. Look at using modules. Use module scripts. Just this kind of stuff that a lot of the other advanced developers use. Also, asking on the developer forum is a really good spot too. The dev forum has a lot of really good tutorials on using advanced techniques and how it would be done in a proper game. So yeah, ask around, ask other experienced developers on the dev forum stuff that you can do better, and have people review your code. That's really, taking criticism like that is the best way to improve. So those were my top 5 tips for scripting on Fiverr. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you thought. Tell me what you thought of the video. If you've personally experienced any of these, or if you're selling on Fiverr, or if you're even interested on hiring somebody on Fiverr for scripting. Also, if you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments for stuff you'd like to learn. Maybe you want a tutorial on something, or maybe you want me to review some of your code for a video. Hit me up. Let me know in the comments. As always, have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.